Listen, my job is to coach what's here, and I'm going to coach the hell out of them, and we are as a staff.
What
And
an awesome coach.
and so yeah, I do. And if we get somebody, great. If we don't, these are our guys, and the coaches know that. This is what we came into camp with. This is why we develop talent, and it's the next man up. They got to be ready to go.
Awesome. The Lions lost the engine of their defense this past Sunday. They lost their heart and soul. They lost Hutch. But did they also lose their chance at a Super Bowl? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. The Lions will be without superstar edge rusher Aidan Hutchinson for the remainder of the season. You cannot replace the man, the player, or the production. But if there's any team in the NFL that can overcome these odds, it's the Detroit Lions. In this video, I'm going to explain to you why the Detroit Lions can still win a Super Bowl without Aidan Hutchinson. Let's go. Before we talk about how the Lions make this thing happen, make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. I would love it if you consider subscribing to the channel. We're just over 2,100 subscribers, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, it's the best way you don't miss any future videos. There is a membership option available. I do my live game play-by-play reactions, tier list, and a ton of other fun content. But there is always free stuff for you here, no worries. Make sure to comment down below. How can the Lions overcome this massive injury to Aidan Hutchinson? Do you think the Lions can still win a Super Bowl? Let's get into today's topic. The injury occurred on Dallas's first possession of the second half. As Aidan Hutchinson was completing a sack against Dak Prescott, it appeared as if his leg snapped while wrapping around fellow defensive lineman Alim McNeill. It was very clear Aidan knew something was seriously wrong right away as he stayed on the turf there in Jerry World. Medical staff immediately rushes the field, and the injury handling ensued from that moment on. The air in Jerry World was deflated. It was very clear that everyone knew that this was very serious and a very gruesome injury had occurred to one of the younger budding superstars in all of the NFL. The Lions actually ended up completing this football game in the revenge tour against the Cowboys, winning this football game 47-9 in such a bittersweet fashion. What does the loss of Aidan Hutchinson ultimately mean for the Detroit Lions? You don't replace this player. It's like losing Ray Lewis in his prime with the Baltimore Ravens or Aaron Donald in the Super Bowl run with the Rams. That's how much Aidan Hutchinson meant to the Lions. He led the league in sacks with 7.5, which included a bye week, and he still led the league. He also leads the NFL in pressures and pressure rate, pass rush win rate percentage. Those things you don't just replace. I think the ripple effect is really what will hurt the Lions defensively. Not having to double, triple team, or use tight ends and running backs to chip block Aidan Hutchinson will allow offenses to operate differently now against the Lions defense. So this loss will really hurt them. The Lions are going to have to figure out the solution very quickly. So where do the Lions go from here? Let's look at it in two different ways. We'll look at it in the short term and the long term. In the short term, the Lions have already made some moves, highlighted by the big contract extension now to defensive interior lineman Alim McNeill, who signed a 4-year contract extension with the Lions today worth $97 million, with $55 million guaranteed, making him the third or fourth highest paid defensive lineman in all of the NFL. What a reaction to this Aidan Hutchinson injury, knowing that they're now going to have to lean on their interior guys, especially a guy like Alim McNeill, who was already looking to get this contract extension probably at the end of the season. But now, knowing that they're going to have to really lean on Alim McNeill along with these other guys, what a great way to incentivize a player to go next level. On top of that, they're probably saving themselves some money because if they have to lean on him now for the rest of this season and he shows out and becomes the player that they think he can be, that contract would have been astronomically larger than what they just paid him now. Another fantastic move by Brad Holmes and this organization. Another quick reaction move by the Lions made just recently is that they signed Cincinnati Bengals practice squad defensive edge rusher Isaiah Thomas. He was a 7th-round draft pick in 2022 out of Oklahoma, and he is a sizable defensive end, comparable to what they did have in Marcus Davenport before they lost him. He's 6'5", 270 pounds, He's been limited production, of course, and has been on the Cincinnati Bengals practice squad, but will certainly be an extra body that they can now use on the defensive edge. Considering those recent moves and continuing to focus on the short-term solutions for this Aidan Hutchinson injury, I think Dan Campbell and the organization has come out and said that ultimately it's really a next man up mentality. Yes, they are looking on the outside and will keep their ears and eyes open for opportunities to bring somebody else in, but really this is going to be about the guys that they have in the facility currently. The remaining edge players on the Lions' current roster are Josh Pascal, who actually showed himself a little bit in the Cowboys game, and Isaac Ukwu, who got his first start with the Lions against the Cowboys, but looked everything like a rookie defensive edge. The other unknown is James Houston, who has not given the Lions any production here this season, had the successful rookie campaign in 2022, but you just don't know what James Houston is and if the coaching staff has any faith in him, because he really just hasn't seen any time. So does he now work himself back into the rotation? And I think you have to lean on who you have on that interior of the defensive line already. You really are stout in the middle with DJ Reader, Ali McNeil, who we just touched on, and Levi Onwuzurike, along with a few others that I think that they now can shift and adjust and use in different ways, especially a guy like Levi Onwuzurike, who the organization has come out and said that he can be used on the edge and is a little bit more versatile. You have guys like Mekhi Wingo, who also is a little bit of a smaller defensive lineman, but can be used in several different areas across that line. So can you use and adjust the current players that you have to produce some pressures and sacks? No, you're not going to get to the level of Aidan Hutchinson, but I think in piecing some things together, they might be able to make this thing work in the short term. You also have other guys like linebacker Trevor Nowaski, who they brought back and are sort of working into that Sam linebacker role that was left by the injury with Derek Barnes. Can he play a little bit of a role in producing pressures in sacks in the short term? The other solution in the short term is to allow the defense and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to adjust accordingly. I relate this back to what they did midseason and sort of the rest of the year through 2023, where with a healthy Aidan Hutchinson, they were struggling to convert pressures into sacks and ultimately assist their back end and secondary in coverage. So what did Aaron Glenn do? He adjusted his scheme. He ended up bringing up a lot of his secondary pieces to help generate pressure in sacks, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quicker, be able to play a little bit of a different defensive scheme. Can he work some of that magic in this year now without their best defensive player? You have a lot of key pieces in that secondary. For instance, Brian Branch, who is blossoming into one of the better strong safeties in all of the NFL. Him combined with Kirby Joseph, a very strong duo at safety there for the Lions. Can they utilize them in a different capacity to help generate pressure and sacks? Can Amik Robertson get involved in the nickel? Can they use some more of their linebackers again and kind of go on this more of an all-out blitz sense when they need to ultimately get pressure? Things that Aaron Glenn did last year, can he deploy some of those things this year to help them in the short term? I broke this down into 3 categories of long-term solutions: the no way category, the very unlikely category, and a possibility category. So let's start with the no way category. And there's where this falls the Max Crosby discussions. I love Max Crosby. He is a fantastic player. And if the Lions were somehow able to work that out, I think that's the one player where you could say you're probably not losing production from Aidan Hutchinson. But guys, that's not going to happen. Let's remove that from our line of thinking. This organization has shown that they don't make that sort of move. I know that this loss of Aidan Hutchinson is unprecedented, but the Lions would have to mortgage all of their future to make that happen. We're talking multiple first-round picks along with what could be players. It just doesn't seem like a solution that Brad Holmes and the Lions are going to entertain. As much as I love the player, I don't think it fits. I also put Myles Garrett in that same category. Again, another guy that you could bring in and say, wow, I guess we're not losing much, but I just think the Lions will have to give up too much to get him. Now, I think that's a little bit more of a realistic option in Myles Garrett versus Max Crosby, but I still think the Lions would just have to give up way too much, and I don't think they're willing to do that for that player. Now, in the more unlikely category, I put Trey Hendrickson, again from Cincinnati. But I think as Cincinnati starts to win more football games, this becomes less and less of a possibility. He's also looking for a large contract. I don't think you'd have to give up as much to bring him in That would also be, again, a long-term solution. Now, can you imagine any one of those three guys paired up with Aidan Hutchinson when he returned healthy? That's almost ridiculous to think about, but it's also the same reason why I don't think the Lions would make those sort of moves. Now, more in the possibility era, where I think the Lions really could make a move here and make a difference with a trade or an acquisition. Let's start with Harold Landry of the Tennessee Titans, who the current Lions defensive line coach Terrell Williams has some familiarity with because that's where he came from. Harold Landry is more of a speed rusher. He's a little lesser size than, let's say, Marcus Davenport was. So it wouldn't be the best pairing with Aidan Hutchinson when all's said and done. But I think because he sort of has that motor that the Lions are looking for, he's the type of player, and that Terrell Williams can vouch for him, I think it is a possibility. I also think the price could be right in that case. And the Tennessee Titans are really hurting this year, so I think they may be up for that discussion. Another player coming out of Cleveland, not Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, who we're familiar with his time with the Packers. You know, this would be more of a one-year deal situation. So I know we're talking long-term, but this still is an external solution, and you could then re-sign him if it worked out. But I think this is more of a low-risk, high-reward type acquisition. That's why I like it. And Zadarius Smith has proven that he is still productive on a limited basis. So I don't know if it's the ultimate solution, but it certainly would give offenses something to think about if you had him on your defensive line. Lastly, I have the name Carl Granderson or Chase Young there from the Saints. And again, that comes from the familiarity of Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell. I think Carl Granderson is probably the one player that they wouldn't have to break the bank for. This is assuming that the Saints would be willing to deal, really in all these cases. But those would be the guys that I think I would earmark for the Lions truly trying to make a move for. I think the other guys are pie in the sky, truly wishful thinking. So if I have to, if I'm being held to the coals here, I think the Lions probably either stand pat with the moves they've just made and try to fix this internally, or they go out and get one of the 3 or 4 players I had in my possibility list. Either way, I think they need to continue to add some bodies, but of what significance, that's the ultimate question. What will the Lions do? What should they do? Let me know down in the comments. The Lions are definitely in their Super Bowl window, and this loss hurts them vitally. But do they mortgage the future to make sure they get what they want here in 2024? And is that really the ultimate answer? Let me know down in the comments. I definitely want to know what you think. I believe they're going to use the next man up mentality more than anything else. I think the extension to Aleem McNeil, the signing of the practice player Isaiah Thomas sort of shows you where they're going from here. I think Aaron Glenn will have every opportunity to revamp this scheme in the secondary, use their linebackers, try to generate pressures and sacks to make up for this loss as much as you can. Now, you're never going to replace that player. Aidan Hutchinson was a potential defensive player of the year, and that loss is huge. One of the biggest things I heard coming out of this in the Up and Adams podcast, where Luke Kuechly was a special guest, he was talking about potentially the most important thing coming out of this injury, and that was to keep Aidan Hutchinson involved with the team as much as possible. Keep him at the facility as much as you possibly can to root on his team, to continue the positive vibe, to keep this culture shift moving in the right direction. Everything that they've set up should continue, and having or keeping Aidan Hutchinson involved there at the facility while he works through this rehab will be vitally important. The Detroit Lions can still win a Super Bowl without Aidan Hutchinson for many reasons. Number one being their culture and coaching. Dan Campbell is the ultimate motivator and players coach. This team has been built from the inside out, built from the draft, from the same old Lions from several years ago to the brand new Lions culture, grit, one pride, team first. That is why this team will be able to move forward. This team will galvanize and play for each other to try and make this thing happen. They will use this injury as motivation and try to make themselves better players and people because of it. And that all stems from the organization, the culture, and that coaching staff. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, and the other pieces on the defense will do what's necessary to make up for this loss. You will never replace the production that Aidan Hutchinson provided. But you have guys like Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Amik Robertson, Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Trevor Nowaski, guys that you're able to use in different capacities on the defense and hopefully be able to make up for some of that production to be able to give yourself a chance defensively to move this thing forward, to get yourself to and to win a Super Bowl. Lastly, I think that this offense can carry the day for the Detroit Lions in 2024. They seem to be even better than they have in past seasons where they had ranked third offensively. Now, on the other side, defensively last year, they finished 19th, and that was with a healthy Aidan Hutchinson. I believe with everything we've talked about today, the changes defensively that Aaron Glenn can make in the scheme, the internal pieces the Lions already have, along with some of the additions that I believe they will make to complete this roster and fill out the loss for Aidan Hutchinson, I think they can be everything they were last year and even a little bit more. So with that all being said, can the Lions win a Super Bowl without Aidan Hutchinson? Absolutely they can. Thank you guys so much for coming along for this video. Let me know what you think. Did the injury to Aidan Hutchinson derail the Lions season altogether, or do you think they can make this thing work? What are the moves they should make here to get this thing back on track? Or do you think they have everything they need already to make a Super Bowl run in 2024? Let me know what you think. If you dig the vibe here, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best free way to help out the channel. I'd also love it if you'd consider subscribing. We're over 2,100 subscribers now, thanks to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, it's the best way to make sure you don't miss future videos. If you hit the join button on any one of my videos, I'll walk you through how you can become a member and a part of the family. More than anything else, make sure to take care of yourself and your mental health. That is more important than anything, and I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Thank you guys so much for your time. Go Lions.